before what they called television, many of the shows were actually on the radio. And this gentleman had the distinction of being the voice of Tonto on the Lone Ranger on radio. True story. Would not like you. And so as such, he has a very distinguished voice. We love to hear him. And after the show, he's also such a versatile man and a man of God. He is signing up people for his crop walk sponsorship in the back. So please contribute heavily to him, will you? It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Doug Wyman.
Well, Dennis, thanks for the plug for the crop walk. And you can sign up with any one of the 4 or 5 of us who will be there after every Mass for the next 3 weeks. One of my favorite American poets is Edgar Allan Poe. And Edgar was born in 1809. His mother died when he was 2 years old. His father didn't want to take him in. His grandparents tried, and then he was adopted by a wealthy family who gave up on him. And he went to college, unfortunately got into liquor and booze and became an alcoholic. But all this time, he was writing these wonderful, great poems. And for any of you that watched The View Thursday, John Cusack is going to be doing The Raven, and there's going to be a movie out in the middle of next month. So, I would like to share with you Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door, only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books circuits of sorrow, for my lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of its purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That this is and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating there no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implored, but the fact that I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, so gently you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore, not the least obedient made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine lord or lady perched upon my chamber door, perched upon the bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it bore. Thou, thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raiment, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marvel this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door with such name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour, nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather that he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet shrieking, I betook myself to linking fancy into fancy, thinking what this bird, ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the placid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that is lying on the floor shall be lifted